a truly lovely, loving, supportive experience. I can't tell you how many people, how many of you have come up to me this week and said, "How you doing? Are you tired? Do you need a hug?" Like, oh my gosh. So first thing is, could y'all just stick around for another? No, don't do that. Um, but please come back. Are we good? Okay, so welcome to everybody to the official closing of the Summer Fishtrap Gathering of Writers. Thank you again. I'm going to still talk the same way because it's still me. Thank you for a wonderful week. This event we're excited about. Every year for the last about 4 years now, we've closed, fifth year, we've closed the event with readings from our second year EOU MFA students. I think there's 4 today. I'm excited. I've gotten to meet a couple of you, not all of you. I'm sorry about that, but I'm excited to hear more from you. At the beginning of the week, again, we asked you to invest in community. You all did that. I hope you take some of this place home with you. I also hope that you come back. I also hope that you bring a friend, tell them about this experience. All of the evening events are available online now, so you can go home and rewatch any of them. A couple of the other, the fellows readings and this reading, or not, yeah, the fellows readings, but the year-long readings and this reading too are also available, so you can watch those. In the coming weeks, we'll also post the craft talks. So if there's anything you forgot, anything you need, any ideas you have for us that are outside survey, please feel free to reach out to either Mike or myself. We want to hear from you. We want to keep growing and do better. So with that, I want to talk just for briefly about our relationship with EOU because it's important. It's important not just to Fishtrap and the Eastern Oregon University MFA program, it's important to our writing community. When Nancy Knowles and I've told this story before, but Nancy and I met, oh my gosh, it's probably been, 7 years ago. We met over beer at the bar at TG. It was excellent. And we talked about how do we reconnect, not just Fishtrap and EOU, but Wallowa County and EOU. And what do we do to make sure that both this relationship is preserved, but also so that our kids and our community here know that higher education is available to them too. This isn't just about kids that live in cities. Fishtrap and EOU had fits and starts of trying to create relationships. That conversation lit a spark. 2 years later, we were under this tent signing Nate Lau, who's the dean of the Arts and Humanities College. We signed an official agreement with Fishtrap and EOU. Some of you were here that day. That day, OPB was here and covered that event, which was pretty great. And we said out loud that the goal was to make Northeast Oregon the literary center of the Northwest. Yeah. No shade to Portland and Seattle at all. Maybe a little bit of shade. I'm a Portland girl at heart, but because of the inclusiveness and the sense of place and the things we're able to do here with space and with agility, and because we are both smaller organizations, we can do things together. This 5 years on, I told some folks this morning, it's very true, that relationship with EOU during the pandemic, they kept Fishtrap afloat by saying, hey, you guys want to go virtual? We'll do it with you. Come here. And then they taught us that we could do it, and we've been including virtual programming ever since. So I think we make each other better. We have friends, folks that are, I'm thinking about Elliot and Nancy and Nick that are here today, that are all invested in making sure that all of you, not just the Wallowa County people and the EOU MFA students, but all of you benefit for this relationship. So with that, I want to turn this over and thank both the Eastern Oregon University and all of you. I hope your classes, your workshops, you saw the benefit of having these brilliant students here. Next year we have quite the cohort. This will be a really long reading. We'll work on that. We may have to do it in phases. But I just want to thank each of you because we have heard it from our workshop participants and our instructors that you make their classes better. So thank you for being a part of that. So with that, I'd like to welcome up, please, yeah. Oh, and before I forget, because I was asked to remind you, you got your calendars out? The dates for the next Summer Fish Trap Gathering of Writers, the 38th, if you're keeping count, is July 7th through 13th, right here, and we hope we'll see you then. So with that, I would like to welcome up the program director for the EOU MFA program, Nick Neely, and he's going to take it from here. Thank you very much.
Hey everyone, I am Nick Neely, the program director. Can you hear me okay if I just stand up? Okay. I should know better. Nick, program director for the EOU MFA program in creative writing with a special concentration in landscape ecology and community. This is my third time up here now to introduce our second year students. The first time I had slept the night before in my car in the parking lot. So we're on an amazing trend upward as I slept fairly comfortably in a cabin last night. But this is a real distinct pleasure of mine, and I'm honored. We have 4 excellent rising second year, or they're now in their second year students who are going to be reading 8 to 10 minutes each for you today. I just wanted to, of course, thank Shannon and Mike and all the Fishtrap staff and the staff of the lodge, everyone who's been involved in this incredible event. I am lucky that I can kind of hover around the edges here, and I know how much goes into running the show, or I have some inkling. I know this production is on another level than anything I've done, but I appreciate what's pulled off here. I have enjoyed all the readings, which have been magical evening readings, and the keynote last night by Aaron and Beta was really special. Just wanted to share a couple, in thinking about our partnership and our goal to make Eastern Oregon a literary center of the Northwest. That is also my goal, slowly but surely. We're trying to do our part in LeGrand. So a couple things I want to share is that for those of you who are in striking distance, next week in LeGrand, we are throwing our first new nature writing conference on Friday and Saturday. We have 7 great visiting writers coming, all of who have a distinct interest in eco writing. Many of them are young, just representing their first book. They're on the cutting edge. You can register. All those events are free. Just Google New Nature Writing Conference, or Con, as I'm calling it, to try to be hip. Just Google that, EOU, New Nature Writing Con. It'll come up. You can check out the lineup. All those events are free and open to the public. Additionally, those same visiting writers are offering a total of 9 over Friday, Saturday, 1-hour classes, and you can take up to 5 if you register for $85 from those options. So if you want to continue next weekend, if you've got another wind under you, if that's the right expression, if you recovered from this, come over to LeGrand and hop into the fun with us. Additionally, at Art Center East through August, I have curated a poetry broadside show called Arboreality. It's 30 broadside poems, all under the theme of trees. It's really a unique assemblage. Put it up this week, which is a lot more work than I had ever imagined. It's my first time doing anything like this. But on Friday night, acclaimed writer David George Haskell, who's a 2-time finalist for the Pulitzer Prize in general nonfiction, he's coming from Tennessee to read from his book, The Songs of Trees, which is a very poetic work of science writing that profiles trees around the world and really does listen to their music. It's a unique book. He's a very unique guy. We're extremely fortunate that he's making the journey. He's going to read in that space in Art Center East, and I think it's going to be a pretty magical event. So I hope you'll be able to make it that if you're within striking distance again. Okay. All right. Without further ado, I just want one other thing. I'm thinking of Aaron and Beta's phrase last night, going to Rome, or you must go to Rome, and I take that to mean you must give everything and sacrifice for your writing. Well, I'm gonna maybe twist that in a terrible way, but now we're going to LeGrand, and it has a very different meaning. Surely, I should never have made that play in words, but In all seriousness, you know, LeGrand is trying to take itself, is taking itself very seriously as a writing community, and our students are now going there to double down, right? Literally, to do another week of intense study with our faculty and get the most out of their time and their work. So we're excited for that. We'll all go to LeGrand together, whatever that means to you. All right. With that, we're gonna do these readings in alphabetical order. It's my pleasure to introduce these talented writers, and they've written very short bios, which I'll just read. First, we have Jason Beaver. Jason, of course, is in his second year now in the program, and he, as he puts it, endeavors to put words together worth reading, which I think are marvelous words to live by. Jason, come on up.
Thank you, Nick, our damn near fearless leader. Thank you very much. And love, right? Right, I had the great pleasure of being with Professor McGonagall, and we had love all week long in a wonderful group. So 4 short pieces, all written here, 1-page stories, all about prompts that she gave us on love. Love of food. Is this Mrs. Beauvoir? It is. Very good. This is Jacques calling from the Beaver's Dam restaurant. We are taking reservations this evening for 8 p.m. should you and your friends wish to dine. Ooh, I love this restaurant. Let's do reservation for 8. Very good, Mrs. Beauvoir. And do remind your friends that at the Beaver's Dam, it is always dinner for the price of the tip alone. I hang up the phone. Well, Melody, my middle sister, is currently 55 and vice president of all Great Wolf Lodges. But at this point of the story, she is 10 and her brain is full of baby snakes. 8, I say, dropping my crack Parisian accent. The Beaver's Dam is one of my more profitable brain children. We live next door to a water tank on Tabor Hill in Fairfield, California, and that's important because the flooding of the Suisun Sloughs in the winter of 1980 were so deep and long-lasting that savvy landowners gerrymandered neighboring property lines using maritime law. That could be $80. My eldest sister, Candace, will one day run banks. At 12, is already murderously enamored with money. I use a brown extension cord and tie a line between the refrigerator hinge and the pot rack and hang a sheet over it to create a barrier between the kitchen from the dining area. Candy oils the table with Old English. Mel handwrites 8 menus while I stab and marinate meat. I'm gonna give them choices like London broil and Paris broil and San Francisco broil. Melody says, I'm calling the Jell-O Gelatin Normandy. You have to use a French accent when you're taking their orders, I say. French is expensive, Candy says. So I cook. I saute rice-a-roni on spiral cross-sections of burners, beat a 4-pound shoulder steak with a shiny waffle iron mallet, and spoon mayonnaise into the pit cavities of canned pear halves, nestled on beds of iceberg lettuce, and sprinkled with sturdy shreds of cheddar cheese on top. Candy combines the remainders of 4 bottles of wine that have been open in the house and pours them into 2 glass carafes she stole from Shakey's Pizza Parlor so that she can upsell the grape. Melody sets the table and we wait impatiently for the arrival of our parents and whichever 6 grown-ups they've recruited to patronize our pop-up fundraising scheme. They arrive noisily and en masse, complimenting Candy's eyeliner mustache and cooing over Melody's menus. They are the front of the house while I remain the boy behind the curtain. Love landing wrong. You're a dirty bird, I can tell by the way you frown. Excuse me? she says, looking up from a pamphlet with a small black and white image of a heron and a 17-point font evoking a nearby Quaker ministry. The knot in your brow looks like it knows the keywords you fall back on in your porn search bar. You want a daddy? Call me Warbucks. He is standing too close to her table, his crotch resting on it. You likey? She is 47 and petless. She passed the SEAL training 22 years ago and now works in acquisitions at a knockoff animal sculpture gallery near Old Town. He is older, has short black hair, and a pure white goatee. You can tell the guys with a big package, he says, because when they step up to the urinal, they come from the bottom of the shorts instead of crimping the ball bag from underneath. Ask me how I piss, I dare you. She cannot believe her luck. Show me, she says, and slides her half-full coffee mug until it nuzzles up against him. He smirks, then it fades and it returns with teeth and a wink. Now, she says, I need to know what we're working with. She's ambidextrous, so angling her iPhone upward with her left hand is almost imperceptible. Don't get shy on me now, she says. I'm interested. He side-eyes the other patrons in the Starbucks, ticks his head to the side, pinches the hem of his drawstring shorts between his forefinger and thumb. You're in for a treat tonight, little lady. He knows, and he jerks his right shoulder upward, and a pale, uncircumcised appendage becomes visible, drooping down like a comma. Yeah, he says, that's it. I like it when a woman knows what she wants. For those so inclined, code-swapping open-source facial recognition software oh, God. Takes about 22 hours and a willingness to buy into the trinary hallucinations of artificial intelligence, compared to the 4.5 hours it takes to set up a pay-for-play website database to search out and reveal the faces behind all the fucking phalluses. Love of place. The family bought their first home in a town of 812 people near the Lost Coast in upstate California. Originally Swagger Station, the hamlet of Lolita nests in a tight, severely sloped valley west of Highway 101 and east of Humboldt Bay. The three Wai'at words of lo, le, and ta translate as a quiet place at the end of the waters. Fitting because 6 rivers sloppily complete their Pacific pilgrimage through the Lolita Basin, slowly drooling their long-traveled flotsam into the empty mouth of the ocean. The old Milkman Creamery, a crumbling brick Goliath of late industrial conception, dominates the lot north of their 2-bedroom house, where inside 2 Gen X parents model their dysfunctional union for 2 daughters, wielding the final death blows to the poorly conceived, self-suffering syndrome of staying together for the sake of the children. Local lore bragged that the creamery had once been pushed into the service. This is printing on a Mac from a computer, so apologize. It's here somewhere. Okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, we're gonna go back. So it was pushed into service as the primary filming location of Halloween Part 2, Season of the Witch, while a half block of poorly renovated 1940s motel bungalows separate the house from the long, straight, poorly paved thoroughfare that connects the failing farms to the beach, a street named Cannibal Island Road. To reach the intemperate waters of the brackish bay, one had to brave the road and park at the edge of a cornfield and walk through its ancient aisles, the stalks anchored at odd angles in the uncomfortable lumps of sand and loam composed of generations of decomposing grassy leaves and the bone-combed skeletons of fish abandoned to the grove by the fickle and feckless tide. The legacy of this land hung its horrors on street signs, unwilling to forgive the genocides or forget the night raids that had made fertilizer out of all the old black blood and bones. And finally, love of a dead person whose ghost comes back inside an animal. Since then, my life has become so goddamned inside my studio, inside my thoughts, inside packs of cigarettes and guilty, scoured out, used up skeletons of K-cup coffee. I'm excreting our love ad hoc between bathroom stalls and through bitter straws, less honest as the air that I digest before the liquid spills through my mouth and into my guts. You died, not me. You died, and yet I'm the one keeping it all inside, still inside my morning doom scrolling, and inside the toilet-adjacent haystack of toilet paper cartridges, and inside the unwashed inverted cup in the sink, inside the strata of unused ramen flavor packages, and just barely beneath the surface of your still unpenetrated Skippy jar that you loved, and so deep inside my Adam's Natural, below the viscous oil and chunky honey-colored cobblestones I nibble from beneath my fingernail, I feel you there, inside still, mostly though you are inside the beta fish we loosed from inside the plastic Ziploc bag, the fish we named Agape because Eros had died. It's all so goddamn deep inside of me. The love we made and your insides told lies to my insides, like retirement and fishing villages that disliked tourists like us, the ones we discovered together after we had become loved enough to grow fat and next to each other and to sleep late and hold apologies inside because we have no need of them. Even now, inside I keep a fart. The one I know you would not want me to keep inside my guts, woven into my intestines, pushing at the margins of my insides, the pain and the bloat and the ache of what it's like to keep all our plans and secrets and stupid dreams, yes, especially all those chapters of stupid dreams, unwritten because the chapter before was never even roughed out from our insides, unwritten inside me and this fish. And so I sprinkle flicks of dead fish to nourish Agape, still alive in the bowl, treading water, staring out from inside its bowl, that acts transparent, but is so goddamn opaque that I cannot see you anymore, even though I know you still float inside some part of this fish, the one we named Agape, where recently Eros had lived. Thank you very much.
Wow, Jason, thank you. Those are incredibly lyrical stories, and that beta fish will be swimming with me for some time. Thank you, really. Next, we have Kelly Ducote, and Kelly is from LeGrand. She's local, as it were, and Kelly works as a court clerk by day. By night, she's a terrific poet and fiction writer, and she also previously worked in journalism, including as an editor and reporter for the LeGrand Observer. Come on up, Kelly.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with a couple of poems that are based in and about Eastern Oregon. This first one is called Dredged. Elkhorns before me, Wallowas behind me. Sitting in an old rail yard, I close my eyes and see, hear the bustle that once was in this quiet place. Today, there's no noise but the chirping of birds and the occasional passing of a diesel truck. Thousands of cattle once came through here at the base of these snow-covered mountains, still here, even on this summer day. It was loud, smelly, exciting, all that livestock coming through, loaded and unloaded and driven out to pasture beneath this big blue sky. Gold in the streets, whiskey in the water, and more cattle than people. The way things should be, some would say. The way things ought to be. Needle in a haystack is a line said by sci-fi characters who don't touch grass, who have never shared a lawn with a steer being halter broken, Never been stopped by a Wednesday morning cattle drive in the middle of the deep Mayan Canyon, a river rushing by as cows drop pies in the middle of the 2-lane highway, just as the yellow sign warns. This is open range. Has the god of mischief ever been to a ranch? Has he sucked the venom of a rattlesnake from the calf of a cowboy? Despite all his time travels and dimension wandering, he has never smelled home in a hayloft writing poems. Has anyone ever been to Camp Manuka in Corbett? Okay, this poem is called Manuka, and it's for Anna from Corbett. Sun rises over steep bluffs engulfing the immense Columbia, igniting a blaze in our hearts and lighting up this part of the world, wet, wooded, fairy tale, full of deep waters, swift moving where glaciers once flowed, you high on top of the gorge, eyes green as western hemlocks, Douglas firs that surround you, outside this garden of roses, thorns hidden by perfectly pigmented petals, some glowing pink, reminiscent of your cheeks reflecting radiant sunlight. Lie down in green meadows, be restored, your cup runneth over. Me, running through thick pines, breathing deeply, ancient grounds beneath my feet, belying years of history forgotten, running to big wooden buildings, crafted for notables, but left for the rest of us. This is dance. 1. So we go to school dances in 7th grade. We aren't awkward, we are awakened. Our hormones leave no room for Jesus, no room for consent. I smell the sweat of the cafeteria. An 8th grader spends her time kicking younger girls behind the knees. She laughs when the knee buckles forward. 2. Today we go out. We're friends with boys 6 years older than us. We wear short, tight dresses we make sure to hide from our mothers. We think it's cool because boys buy us kamikazes and vodka cranberries. It is cool until Shannon's drugged. We rush to Felix's place to let her rest and make pancakes at 4 a.m. Tomorrow we steal lip gloss from Walmart because corporations are not people. We sleep salty and sweaty in the seats of Lucia's SUV. We tell our parents nothing because we are adults now. We know nothing. Who needs lip gloss at 1 a.m. anyway? 3. I go with other freshmen to a frat house that's kicked off campus. Rap music so loud I can't think. His curls lure me in from across the room while I dance with someone else. I stop what I'm doing. I walk over to the band t-shirt and Converse. Old teenagers fill red Solo cups with jungle juice out of a trash can. The curly-headed one's friends approach with backpacks full of 40s and invite me to their house party. I agree and kiss the curly-headed one in the Rite Aid parking lot. I ask him if he believes in God, what political party he belongs to. He shows me his bookshelves and gives me the importance of being earnest. We smoke swag out of a forest green bong. 4. I won't accept that these days will end. Today, I'm home with my son. I'm home every day, furloughed through a pandemic. Holding him in my arms, I wonder, how will things ever be the same? This forever is etched into my DNA. Playing vinyl records while we dance in the dining room. I open the shades wide, sun shining as you giggle between spit-ups and hiccups, and I sing to you. If devotion is a river, then I'm floating away. The joy of watching you walk, run, play, halted by bedside x-ray, non-displaced spiral fracture of the tibia, the anguish of my inability to heal your inconsolable heart, the agony of my back carrying all 35 plus pounds of you dead weight, anxious and afraid of any movement. You sit, legs out and supported by blankets knit by your grandmothers, singing about the joy, 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 joy down in your heart. Emphasis on the R, so hard you sound like a pirate, down in my heart to stay. This is Ways to Enrage a Toddler. Sing his favorite songs, Use the orange cup instead of the green one. Brush his tangled wavy locks. Hurry him along. Ask him why. Refuse candy before dinner. Read too few books. Look at him. Don't look at him. Take him to the doctor. Dilate his eyes. Help him see. I have one more, and this is, we talked this week in Kim's group about writing toward the strange, and this is my strange. It's called Bloom. Swarm, swaths of dark specks take flight in hot night against the setting sun, on a search, a hunt. Seduce me into the mouth of the cave, which swallows me with stalactites and stalagmites, cool limestone dripping, with snowmelt and rain from Guadalupe Mountains, haven of life, hidden in arid alien desert. Run, retreat, sweat dripping as you climb from within, earth, a dark place, now darker, with tiny vampires, small fangs. Scientists will say they avoid humans. But you've read stories. I didn't know I was bitten by a bat. No evidence until slurred speech, foam at the mouth, transformed to monster. Dracula, as in Serbian and Hungarian vampire, origin unknown, repulsed by pungent aromatic garlic. Here, Brazilian free-tailed bats are repulsed by pesticide pollution, by habitat destruction, roosts forced into spaces where they no longer belong. Housebats are unwelcome guests. Scientists warn those exposed to seek immediate treatment via regimen of 4 1-milliliter doses injected intramuscularly over the next 14 days. But for these caves, under Congress Avenue Bridge, their quarters over Ladybird Lake City shining its bright lights across ripples of wet night, we clamor, we call for them in frequencies we cannot hear, and into their caves, deep in desert lands, hidden among ranges spanning further than we know, beyond the depths of our minds, which look instead for tiny green men. Build shrines to imagined extraterrestrials at small diners, glossy-eyed waitresses taking order after order for frozen food they do not have. Scientists say aliens aren't real, but you've been to New Mexico. You've watched congressional hearings. You've smelled the stench of Hanford, craved the monster we don't know. In dark of night, I don't know what is out there. What appears unfertile obscures abundance. The end of war comes at great cost. Nuclear mushroom clouds leveling bullseye swaths of cities. Scientists say this bomb testing site is safe enough, not knowing beforehand how one ends up birthed with radioactive defects on tropical atolls, harmed by reverse engineering of UFOs, unknowingly bitten by bats, speech slurred, foam at the mouth, transformed to monster. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Your poem about toddlers is eminently relatable, and your strangeness is winning. I love that last flowing piece, and can't wait to read that. Next, we have Anna Eadington. Anna is a single mother who works in healthcare and cares deeply about women's empowerment as well as racial injustice. She strives to create meaningful content and leave a lasting impression. She writes both poetry and fiction. Anna.
Okay, so this is an excerpt of a story that I've been writing. It's called Lucine. This is not a fairy tale. There is nothing beautiful in my story, though I stand here in the body of a normal human woman again. My eyes are still my eyes, striking in their azure flecked green, a pupil usually a little too dilated. They are the same eyes that lured in unwitting men with fake tears and a siren song, just before I dragged them down to the depths of the dark, enticing lake and sucked them dry of their soul. I am a beast disguised as a mermaid, a wraith that men cry out of their dreams to behold as I drop my jaw and feast on them. But in my new body of a woman, humans are fooled into thinking I have a soul like them, as if changing skin like clothing could take away the darkness on the inside. In my small moments of peace, where the voice spreading over me felt thinner, I would go to the aquarium. It was when I stopped to whisper to the peacock mantis shrimp that I noticed a different kind of energy in the room. All the water in the tank seemed to speak in fluttery musings, as if the creatures were spelling out my doom in the tiniest syllables. I had no time to put it together. He is one of my favorite creatures, a male voice said beside me. I almost didn't recognize his essence as male. It had some kind of different tinge to it. It didn't have the sharp, stinging edge. It was something softer, yet still firm instead. It was something like the tentacles of an octopus that wrapped around one's arm and squeezed. Then I turned to look at him. He was just a normal man and wearing some kind of black spandex jumper with green stripes down the side. The zipper was pulled halfway down his chest to expose a little of his dark hairs and a glint of a gold chain hanging delicately near his clavicle. His face lit up when I looked into his eyes, and it was like feeling those tentacles sliding over skin. Something moved in my stomach and in my throat. He watched my eyes drop and climb back up him, then laughed, and he told me he was wearing his biking gear. He was new around here and on his bicycle when he saw signs for the aquarium and decided to drop by. I just watched him as he said all this, wondering why he was telling me. I like how it uses its claws as clubs to bash its prey, I said finally, turning back to the glass. I did not mention that this peacock mantis shrimp was actually a female. He laughed again, and I looked up and smiled too. Something about his energy was so different. My mouth began to water. I pressed one finger to the corner of my mouth and sifted long, white, blonde hair off my shoulders. "Do you come here often?" he asked, looking straight at me. His gaze caught mine as if he knew what he was doing, as if he was only having a harmless conversation and he was safe being near me. I nodded, looking at him. I could see that his pupils were larger and the expression on his face was so weightless. I guessed that his age was maybe mid-range, possibly late 30s or early 40s. He was fit with wide shoulders, and you could tell that by the way he moved, he was athletic, a fighter. His quiet swiftness, his light footfalls made me think he could slip away. But his energy was so solidly there, too, so grounded. His dark espresso hair was short, and there was little of it left, but it matched his eyes. Within those eyes, I kept thinking I felt something. Had I met this man before? Maybe in another life. I didn't know what happened to the souls of men I devoured, but I had never tasted him before, I was sure. I would remember his essence. This man, Raphael, was from Alicante. He told me about how he'd come to teach Spanish at the university nearby. In his free time, he liked to go biking, play violin, and explore. Somehow, we ended up sitting on a bench nearby chatting, and he was telling me all these things about himself, while I listened, staring into his eyes, wondering how he could seem so normal, yet so not. Alicante, I said, rolling it around in my mouth. It tasted exotic and felt warm and salty. Is it on the sea? I asked. His eyes lit up again. Yes, it's a beautiful place and very warm. Not like here, I find. Here, it's quite cold and rainy sometimes. I came to visit in the spring just before I moved here. I thought maybe I had made the wrong decision to accept that job offer, he said, laughing and shaking his head. Did you? I asked. Somehow I thought it would be a simple answer, but he replied that he didn't know yet. My watch lit up and I stared at it uncomprehendingly at first. I was so dazed by this Raphael, that I forgot who I was in this life. But it was my driver, and I had to go. As I stood to leave, Raphael stood too. "You're leaving?" he asked. "Yes," I said, and might have closed my eyes slightly just to breathe in that scent one last time. It was so effervescent. "Will I see you again? I mean, maybe we can meet here sometime." "Maybe. I have to go now," I said, and I walked towards the exit. "Ojalá que nos vemos muy pronto," he said, but his voice was an undercurrent. It's only slightly pulled, and I didn't know what it meant, so it couldn't bring me back, or so I thought. I pulled open the solid black door to the car and jumped into the back seat. Daniel looked in the rearview mirror at me. "Did you have a nice visit?" "Yes, it was delicious," I said, hissing my words. His laugh came a little too fast. He used to say he didn't believe me. Now he just chuckled when I said things like this. I knew the edge in it had nothing to do with disbelief, though. I had been inhaling the fear of men for centuries. In this body, it was especially potent, like she knew some fear intimately. We drove for a few minutes in silence. Generally, I would have continued to keep it quiet and uncomfortable for Daniel, but curiosity was pinching behind my eyes. "Is there a university near here?" I asked, without sounding too interested. Daniel stiffened and hesitated before asking if I intended to take classes. "I don't know. I saw there were papers showing people learning about marine life in the aquarium," I said. "And you want to take classes? But you probably know more about that than anyone," he scoffed. He probably thought this would dissuade me from thinking about it. "Yes, that's true," I said, and an idea lit me up so fast I couldn't hide it from Daniel or fake disinterest. "I don't like the looks of that face," he said wearily. But as I thought about it, who better to learn about marine biology from than a creature of the deep? Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. I love a very menacing story set in an aquarium. That's just perfect. And they do really inspire. They're so dark and dreamlike that things can go wrong there in the mind. Finally, last but very much not least, if I can get my phone to cooperate here, sorry. Oh dear. Okay, Hannah Lavin is a second-generation Latina from Guatemala who writes fiction and poetry that often involve animals and the natural world. Hannah, welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much. Super excited to be here. I remember I came here and watched the second years last year, and I was so excited. So it's awesome to make this happen. So I'm going to be reading a piece of Flash for you today, and it's called Adam and the Maple. Adam was given his name by his father because it was a good, strong American name, and he was meant to be a good, strong American boy. Adam's father called him "you idiot" when he was in trouble, and "boy" when he was getting beaten. Adam's mother called him Adam, always. Adam's father was a vet from Korea, not Nam, Korea, don't you listen? And he felt that distinction was important. His father was also taken with whiskey, but stopped drinking when he threw a sprinkler head at Adam, cutting the forehead of, "You damn idiot boy, don't you listen?" He stopped drinking after that, not because of the blood, but because of the hospital bill that followed the 13 stitches. Adam's father hated himself. Adam's mother hated him too. Adam loved him more than life. Adam grew up in a part of Los Angeles where wild dogs roamed the streets in mangy packs. He looked out at the stray dogs behind the bars on his window and whistled the old standoff tune from his favorite Clint Eastwood Western. He grew up a good, strong American boy who went to church but didn't like it, and played football and liked it, and kissed girls and loved it. He grew his blonde hair out long and cut it, and grew a mustache and cut it, and filled his days with sports and food and old comics, sometimes the ones that had naked girls on the front, and no, he would not bring it up in confession. Adam was the product of rape. His mother never told him this, but as he grew older, he began to suspect, especially when he could hear the headboard thumping against the walls and his mother's muffled cries from the other room. For a long time, Adam had heard her say no, 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 but by the time he was old enough to do something about it, she had gone quiet. Adam listened while he lay in his too small bed and looked up at the ceiling, eyes caught on the red rust stain of a leak in the roof. Adam thought about barging in many times, but those stitches against his forehead burned whenever he did, so he counted dots inside that red stain on his popcorn ceiling until it was over. Adam stopped loving his father. It's a hard thing to love someone with a belt in their hand. Adam stayed at home for a year after he graduated high school and watched his father's face flush red after a bite of rum cake, and that's when he decided it was time to leave. He was too big and strong and American for beatings now. But even though Adam decided it was time to leave, his family didn't have money for college, and he wasn't allowed to join the military. His mother had even slapped him across the face when he brought it up, tears streaming from her eyes, lip quivering as she said, "No, Adam, I won't let you, Adam. You won't be like him, do you hear me? Do you understand? Do you?" Adam didn't have much money, but with what money he had, he took a train up the coast to Washington State and bummed what odd jobs he could find. Busboy, gas station attendant, window washer, whatever came his way. Adam liked Washington. He felt like his lungs were open for the very first time ever, not stuffed with stale cigarette smoke from his mother or the city smog. He hitchhiked his way into a logging town in the very northwest corner of the United States and hadn't been there for a day when a man put an axe in his hand and set him to work. Soon after, Adam's father died at the moving company he worked at. Blunt force trauma by a grand piano that he had been directing through the window of a second-story apartment. Adam didn't return home for the funeral. He had a shabby flat with running water and a furnace, and he sent that address to his mother on a postcard. For a decade, Adam worked felling trees, and he enjoyed the work, enjoyed how it made him tired at the end of the day, enjoyed how his muscles ached and grew, enjoyed what it felt like to take off his boots when he returned home. He liked being out in nature too, and he had come into an isolated life. Time in nature had stretched and softened Adam. He wasn't a virgin, but it was a near thing. He had become afraid of women, not of hurting their skin and bones, but their hearts and minds. In every woman, Adam saw his mother. Adam's mother lived off of Social Security now, alone in that 2-bedroom, 1-story house in Los Angeles. It killed Adam that she was alone. He hadn't been home since he left, not even for Christmas, and he knew that was awful. But every time he thought about visiting, he wondered if that red stain was still on the ceiling, and there wasn't much to wonder, because he knew that it was. The truth was, Adam was searching for something, and only the forest knew what a great tragedy it was that Adam would soon finish his search. Adam came upon the great maple on his lunch break, hiking deep into the forest until he found a clearing and could hardly believe his eyes. There before him stood a grand crimson-leafed maple tree, trunk gangly and twisted, branches shooting out in electric waves, the image stark against the soft snow that blanketed the forest floor. Adam pushed up his baseball cap a little higher on his forehead and let out a low whistle. He grew closer, brown paper bag lunch clutched in hand, axe resting against his shoulder and nestled tightly in the crook of his arm. "How'd you get here?" Adam asked, circling the maple as if to take in all of its grandeur. If the maple could respond in the human tongue, they would tell Adam the story of their forebears' journey as a sapling, how they crossed the great warm Pacific on a boat and then rumbled through the land on a truck, how they were purchased and changed human hands once, twice, and then once more before they were planted. And then years of growth and decay, growth and decay, growth and decay, until seeds finally flew through the air, and one seed happened to land on the back of a bear who was ushering her cubs through the forest, away from the foaming mouth of a hungry male. And when the mother stood up on her hind legs and bellowed a great roar, the seed fell to where Adam stood now, and her great paw pushed it into the ground when she fell back to the earth, calling to her cubs in the dark tongue of bears to hurry and run, as she followed them, leaving behind life in her act of protection. The maple already knew everything about Adam. They knew because of the way he walked, because of the way he held his voice in the back of his throat, because of the way his blood flowed through his body, and the rhythm that made with the ground, because of the taste of his hair against the bark, and the microscopic flakes of skin that fell to the maple's roots. The maple could read Adam's entire past and foresaw his short future. As suddenly as Adam had come upon the maple, the pack came upon Adam, and even then, he had the urge to whistle that old Western standoff tune. The pack was hungry, Adam could tell, and he knew what a terrible thing it was to be hungry. He knew then that he would never have his own good, strong American boy, and maybe that was okay. Maybe he was even relieved by it. Relieved enough that he put down his axe, ignoring his father's voice in his head to put up a goddamn fight, don't just take it, something he had always said with that belt in his hand. But Adam had never been good at fighting back, so he lay down and bore it in the same way that he was conceived, accepting the great sin of his own immutable birth. And as Adam looked up at those crimson leaves painting the sky and his blood soaked the snow, he realized that the maple knew all of this, and he found only joy in his last moments, tears of elation running down his face that he was finally understood. Thank you.
What a spectacular dendritic note to end on, Hannah. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of you for being here this morning. I know it's a long week, but just each of the four of you were a delight this morning, and I'm very proud of you. Come to LeGrand. Come to LeGrand. And thank you once more to Shannon, Mike, all those at Fishtrap who make this possible. We appreciate you deeply. Cheers, everyone. Have a good journey.